What if the exhaustion you feel every single morning isn't burnout, but the result of a deliberate biological leak designed to keep your consciousness trapped in a lower dimension? In exactly 21 minutes, you will possess the three-step biological protocol that Gnostic monks and alchemists used to turn their own bodies into perpetual motion machines of spiritual power. Most people never notice that the fatigue they feel after a release is not relaxation, but a literal loss of life force. The detail nobody talks about is that ancient texts describe the fluid you so casually discard not as biological waste, but as liquid gold, capable of crystallizing the soul. Here is the part they don't want you to know. In 1993, a suppressed study on bioelectricity suggested that the retention of this fluid creates a quantifiable electromagnetic field around the human body that can be measured up to 5 feet away. The creator of this reality may have designed a system where your pleasure is the lock, but your restraint is the only key. Your thoughts aren't really yours when you are depleted. They are recycled echoes of a hungry biological machine. There is a frequency that literally dissolves the illusion of weakness, and it is generated only when the internal pressure of the body reaches a critical mass. The Vatican Library still keeps 42 sealed tracts on the inner marriage that contradict everything modern culture tells you about freedom. The word virility comes from the Latin vir, which originally meant not just man, but hero or force of nature. Have you ever felt this exact sensation of losing your power without knowing why? Could this be the reason you sometimes wake up at 3:33 a.m. feeling completely drained even after 8 hours of sleep? But the craziest thing happens when you actually try this technique of containment for just 7 days. The halo painted around saints was not a metaphor. It was a diagram of energy sublimation that modern physics is only now beginning to understand. But what happens when a normal person tries this forbidden technique today? We need to start by ruthlessly dissecting the machine you inhabit. Imagine for a moment that you are standing in a garage looking at a complex high-performance engine. It is chrome and steel, designed by a master engineer to run on high-octane rocket fuel. But for your entire life, without even realizing it, you have been siphoning that precious fuel directly onto the pavement to create a momentary dazzling spark. This is the precise state of modern masculinity and increasingly modern humanity. We are sold a seductive narrative of absolute freedom. We are told by every billboard, every movie, and every algorithm that to indulge every impulse is the definition of liberation. We are told that to satisfy every biological itch is the hallmark of a life well lived. But the alchemists of the Middle Ages, those shadowy figures working in stone towers filled with strange fumes, called this state something very different. They called it the leaking vessel. They believed that the human soul is not a given right. It is not a factory setting. It is a construct that must be built brick by agonizing brick using a very specific mortar. That mortar is the creative energy of the body. Picture the dusty, candle-lit laboratory of a 16th century hermeticist like Paracelsus. He isn't just mixing chemicals in glass beakers for the sake of science. He is obsessed with the internal laboratory of his own body. He writes in coded manuscripts about a process called the Great Work, which began with a terrifying non-negotiable premise. He claimed that if the mercury, their code name for the volatile fluid energy of the mind and body, was allowed to escape the vessel, the experiment would fail instantly. You cannot boil water to create steam if the pot has a hole in the bottom. And right now, the entire structure of modern society is engineered to drill holes in your pot. Think about the visceral feeling of scrolling through a screen late at night. The room is dark, lit only by the cold, blue, artificial glow. Your breathing becomes shallow, almost imperceptible. Your pupils dilate, a physiological response known as mydriasis, which occurs when the nervous system anticipates a reward. You are not just looking at pixels. You are engaging with a hyper-stimulating parasite that is actively harvesting your dopamine. The detail nobody talks about is that this digital consumption mimics the biological cost of reproduction without the creation of life. Your body mobilizes its most expensive resources, rare minerals, complex proteins, enzymes, and neurochemicals, preparing to create a new human being. It is a massive biological investment. When you release that energy to a screen, the body is left in a state of shock. It is a biological bankruptcy. The ancient Taoists of China, who mapped the human energy body with a precision that rivals modern MRI scans, called this energy Jing. They believed you are born with a fixed amount of ancestral jing, like a battery charge given to you at birth. Every day you live, you burn a little. Every time you get sick, you burn a little. But the single most expensive expenditure, the one that drains the battery faster than anything else, is the loss of sexual essence. When the jing runs out, the body withers, the teeth fall out, the mind clouds, and you die. This sounds like superstition until you look closely at the animal kingdom. The male praying mantis often dies immediately after mating. The salmon swims upstream, spawns, and disintegrates. Nature demands an ultimate price for creation. Archaeologists in 1974 found a Sumerian tablet describing the exact same process of energy depletion that modern neuroscientists would discover in dopamine receptors 4,000 years later. But here is the twist that changes the entire game. The Taoists discovered that if this energy is generated but not released, if it is retained and circulated, it undergoes a phase change. It transforms from a physical fluid into a subtle heat and then into a spiritual light. They called this Shen. This is the biological basis of enlightenment. It is not just sitting under a tree and thinking good thoughts. It is a physiological process of recycling the raw fuel of evolution into the refined fuel of consciousness. In 2011, a study involving fMRI scans showed that subjects who practiced forms of urge suppression showed increased density in the prefrontal cortex, the exact area of the brain responsible for willpower and future planning. This suggests that the will is not just a mental concept, but a muscle built by the conservation of energy. The feeling of brain fog that plagues so many people is not a mystery. It is a lack of fuel. You are trying to drive a Ferrari with an empty tank. The little death, or la petite mort, is the French term for the sensation following release. It is a momentary collapse of the ego, yes, but it is followed by a collapse of the energy field. Consider the implications of this. If your energy is your currency, then pornography is not just a bad habit. It is a system of taxation. It is a mechanism designed to keep you in debt. The Gnostics, a sect of mystics who were hunted down by the early church, believed that this world is a prison guarded by archons, or rulers. These archons feed on the low vibrational energy of humans. And what creates a lower vibration than shame, lethargy, and the waste of the creative spark? When you spill your essence, you are feeding the guards. We are going to explore the 3 stages of the alchemical protocol to reclaim this power. The first stage is the sealing of the vessel. The second is the purification, or calcinatio. And the third is the sublimation, the rising of the light. This is not a metaphor, it is a manual. And it begins with a decision that is terrifying to the modern ego. You have to close the door. Imagine an ancient iron pressure cooker sitting on a roaring fire. If the lid is loose, the steam escapes, the water boils away into the air, and the pot eventually burns and cracks. This is the life of the average person. Constant stimulation, constant release, constant burnout. To create the philosopher's stone, the alchemist must create a hermetic seal. This is where the term hermetically sealed comes from Hermes Trismegistus, the father of alchemy. It means a seal so tight, so absolute, that not even the finest vapor of your spirit can escape. In practical terms, this means the absolute cessation of the leak. It means retention. But when a normal person in 2024 tries this exact technique for the first time, something unexpected happens. They don't feel enlightened. They feel angry. They feel agitated. They feel like they are going to explode. The walls of the mind start to shake. This is where most people quit. They interpret this pressure as a problem. I need to release, they say, to clear my head. But the alchemist knows that this pressure is the point. The heat is not a symptom of something going wrong. It is the evidence that the machine is finally turned on. You are finally filling the tank. The discomfort you feel is the sensation of a dormant system waking up after a lifetime of sleep. It is the friction of energy that has nowhere to go. And because it has nowhere to go, it begins to look for a way up. This brings us to the first law of alchemy: dissolution and coagulation. You must dissolve the old habits to coagulate the new power. However, simply sealing the vessel is dangerous if you do not know how to manage the heat. If you just bottle up this raw biological drive without a protocol, it will turn stagnant. It will become a swamp in your mind. This leads to aggression, neurosis, and eventually a relapse that is even more destructive than before. You need a chimney. You need a way to direct the smoke. Have you ever felt a sudden, inexplicable surge of irritation or aggression just a few days after trying to change a habit? We must now enter the second stage, the one the ancient texts call Calcinatio, or the burning. This is the purification of the mind, because here is the trap. You can stop the physical act, but if your mind is still running the same loops, if you are still consuming the same images, you are heating up a toxic mixture. The alchemists warned that if the mercury, the mind, is impure, the gold will be tainted. But when a normal person in 2024 tried this exact technique for the first time, they discovered that the monsters described in the texts were not metaphors, but actual neural pathways screaming for survival. Wait until you hear what happened to the monk who reached the final stage of this burning process. To understand how to clean this toxic mixture from the mind, we must look to the Desert Fathers, the radical Christian monks who lived in the scorching limestone caves of Egypt in the 3rd century. They practiced a discipline called Nepsis, which translates from the Greek as watchfulness or sobriety of the mind. These men lived in extreme isolation, battling what they called demons. Modern psychology calls these intrusive thoughts or compulsions, but the raw experience is identical. The monk would stand at the entrance of the cave of his heart, literally visualizing himself as a guard with a flaming sword, refusing entry to any unauthorized visitor. Saint Hesychios the priest wrote in the Philokalia that one who engages in the unseen warfare must at every moment have his mind guarded, for the thief comes to steal, to kill, and to destroy. They understood that a slip does not happen when you act physically. It happens much earlier. It happens when you accept the thought. The moment you entertain the image, the moment you negotiate with the urge, you have already broken the seal. The energy begins to leak out of the vessel before you even move a muscle. The practice of Nepsis is the active incineration of these thoughts. It is not passive meditation where you watch clouds go by. It is aggressive internal warfare. When a thought of lust or a craving for the old dopamine hit arises, you do not argue with it. You do not analyze where it came from. You burn it. You drop the mental shutter instantly. This creates friction. It hurts physically. It feels like you are denying a vital part of yourself, and in a way you are. You are denying the parasite that has attached itself to your nervous system. This process of denying the mental release generates immense heat within the body. This is the calcinatio described by the alchemists. You are using the fire of your own will to burn away the neural pathways of addiction. Think of your brain as a dense, dark forest. For years you have walked the same path to the dopamine reward. It is a wide, paved, easy highway. By refusing to walk it, by standing guard with the sword of Nepsis, you are forcing the brain to forge a new path through the undergrowth. You are letting the weeds grow over the old highway until it disappears completely. In 2019, a study on neuroplasticity confirmed that the act of refusing a mental impulse physically weakens the synaptic connection within 3 days. But here is where it gets truly strange. As you practice this watchfulness, as you clear the mental screen of these parasitic images, the energy that was previously tied up in these fantasies is liberated. It becomes available for other things. You start to notice colors are brighter, your voice gets deeper and more resonant. The brain fog evaporates not because you took a pill, but because you stopped poisoning the well. You are reclaiming the processing power of your own biocomputer. Have you ever heard a voice in your head that didn't feel like yours? This brings us to the third and most critical stage of the protocol, known as sublimation, or the rising of the light. If you have sealed the vessel through retention, and if you have purified the mind through the fire of watchfulness, you now have a massive reservoir of high-octane fuel sitting in the lower centers of your body. In the Taoist tradition, this is called the lower Tan Tien. If it stays there, it just creates intense physical desire and frustration. You must move it. The technique for this has been whispered in secret societies for thousands of years. It is known as the microcosmic orbit. Imagine your spine not as a bone, but as a hollow fiber optic cable filled with fluid. This is the channel of ascent. The practice involves using your breath and your conscious intention to physically pump the energy from the base of the spine, up the back, over the head, and down the front. It works exactly like a hydraulic pump. When you inhale deep into your belly, you visualize pulling that golden heat from the perineum, past the tailbone, past the kidneys, which the Chinese call the gate of life, and up to the base of the skull. You literally squeeze the muscles of the pelvic floor, acting as a physical pump to assist the energetic movement. This is not just imagination. It is using the nervous system to direct blood flow and bioelectricity against the force of gravity. When this raw energy reaches the brain, specifically the region the Taoists call the crystal palace, which corresponds to the pineal and pituitary glands, something miraculous happens. The energy is distilled, it cools down, it transforms from the heavy, sticky fuel of reproduction into the refined nectar of higher consciousness. The Taoists say that Jing becomes Shen. In 2013, researchers at a prominent university were studying the brains of long-term meditators and found that they could voluntarily control their body temperature, raising it by up to 17 degrees Fahrenheit using only their focus. This confirms the ancient Tibetan practice of tummo, or inner fire, which relies entirely on the retention and manipulation of sexual energy. The heat is real, the biology is real. You are building a furnace inside your own torso. Neuroscientists in 2023 accidentally replicated the same brainwave state Tibetan texts described 1400 years ago, known as gamma synchrony, which only occurred when subjects focused intensely on moving sensation up the spine. The implications of this are staggering. It means that the Enlightenment experiences described by mystics throughout history, the flashes of blinding light, the feeling of universal connection, the sudden downloads of wisdom, are biological events triggered by the successful sublimation of sexual energy. You are literally refueling your brain with the most potent substance your body can produce. Instead of ejecting this substance to create a child, you are directing it inward to rebirth yourself. You are feeding the higher centers of the brain with supercharged nutrients and electricity. This is why the saints in medieval paintings are depicted with halos around their heads. It is not symbolic art. It is a representation of the electromagnetic field of a brain running on full power. But this process requires patience. It is not a quick fix. It is a re-engineering of your entire nervous system. You are reversing the flow of the river of life. In most people, the energy flows down and out. You are forcing it to flow up and in. This is the upstream swim of the salmon, the hero's journey against the current of biological imperative. Have you ever sensed that something is slightly off with reality, as if you are seeing it through a dirty window? By minute 14 of this practice, during a deep breathing session, you might feel a physical popping sensation in the center of your forehead or a sudden high-pitched ringing in the ears. This is the pressure valve opening in the higher centers. The dirty window is being wiped clean. The reality you see afterwards is sharper, deeper, and more vibrant. But the transformation is not just internal. It begins to leak out into your environment in ways that defy conventional explanation. We enter the realm of Ojas, or the aura. In the Ayurvedic tradition, Ojas is the final byproduct of nutrition and conserved Jing. It is the subtle glue that binds the body and spirit. A man with high Ojas becomes a magnet. This is the phenomenon of magnetism. You walk into a room and heads turn. You are not doing anything. You are not shouting, but there is a density to your presence. Animals respect you. Children stare at you. Other men feel a subconscious need to align with you. It is biophysics. A depleted battery has no magnetic field. A fully charged battery creates a field that affects everything around it. In 2019, a CIA declassified document accidentally confirmed the exact frequency the monks were using to contain this energy, referencing the gateway process and the manipulation of the body's energy torus field. The document suggests that the human body is effectively a toroidal energy system, and that leakage disrupts the integrity of this field. When the field is whole, when the Ojas is high, you are protected. You are immune to the emotional chaos of others. You become a sovereign entity. And this leads us to the ultimate question, the one that keeps the mystery hunters awake at night. Why did nature give us this capacity? If our biological purpose is just to reproduce and die, why do we have the hardware to become immortal? The ancient texts are unanimous on this point. They state that the physical body is a chrysalis. We are larvae. We are meant to consume, to grow, and eventually to undergo a metamorphosis. But this metamorphosis is not automatic. It is optional. It requires the conscious conservation of fuel. If a caterpillar spends all its energy consuming leaves and never spins a cocoon, it dies a caterpillar. It never becomes a butterfly. The diamond body, or the rainbow body of the traditions, is the butterfly. It is a subtle vehicle built out of crystallized consciousness. Every time you retain, every time you transmute the urge, you are weaving another thread of this cocoon. You are building a structure that can survive the death of the physical body. The alchemists called this the solar body. They believed that the soul is not a ghost that automatically floats to heaven, but a muscle, that must be developed. If you spend your life draining your battery, you have no energy left to build the vehicle. You die, and the lights go out. But if you save the fuel, if you compress the carbon, you create a diamond. So the next time you feel that urge, that pull to release, realize what is actually happening. It is not just a physical itch, it is a test. It is the universe asking you a question. Are you a caterpillar, or are you ready to become something else? The fire burning in your belly is the same fire that fuels the sun. You can use it to warm your hands for a moment of pleasure, or you can use it to forge a star. But when a normal person in 2024 tried this exact technique for the first time, they discovered that the monsters described in the texts were not metaphors, but actual neural pathways screaming for survival. The next document I'm about to show you was removed from the Vatican archives in 1962, but its contents describe the final stage of this transformation in a way that terrified the Church Fathers. The document in question, known as the Liber Secretorum or Book of Secrets, suggests that the ultimate heresy was not devil worship, but the cultivation of a soul so powerful that it no longer required an external mediator to access the divine. The Church Fathers were terrified because a man who can transmute his own biology into spiritual light becomes a sovereign entity, ungovernable by fear or guilt. This secret of internal alchemy is the red pill that wakes you up from the matrix of dependency. But how does this biological transmutation actually bridge the gap to the spiritual? The answer lies in a tiny, pine cone-shaped gland in the center of your brain called the pineal gland. For centuries, philosophers like Descartes called it the seat of the soul, but modern science dismissed it as a vestigial organ. That is, until recently. In 2002, a study published in the journal Bioelectromagnetics revealed that the pineal gland contains calcite microcrystals that are piezoelectric, meaning they generate an electric charge when subjected to mechanical stress. This changes everything. When you pump the cerebrospinal fluid and the energy up the spine, using the breath and the muscular contractions of the microcosmic orbit, you are physically hitting these crystals. You are applying mechanical stress. This causes the crystals to discharge photons. You are literally lighting up the lighthouse in your brain. This is not poetry. It is bioluminescence. The halo is real light. Do certain numbers keep appearing in your life no matter where you look? This might be the signal that your internal frequency is beginning to align with the mathematical structure of the universe. When you retain your essence, you stop broadcasting the frequency of lack and desperation. You start broadcasting the frequency of abundance and order. The universe, which is fundamentally mathematical and holographic, responds to this signal by organizing your reality. Synchronicities, those impossible coincidences where you think of someone and they call, or you need an answer, and a book falls open to the right page, are not accidents. They are the side effects of a high-energy system interacting with the field. But we must land this spaceship. We must answer the question that haunts every seeker who hears this information. What do I do with this on a Monday morning? How do I apply this ancient magic in a world of smartphones, stress, and endless distraction? The application is surprisingly simple, but it is not easy. It requires a protocol. We call it the 7-day seal. For the next 7 days, you make a non-negotiable pact with yourself. You seal the vessel. No release, no edging, no consumption of pornography. But that is just the defensive game. You must also play the offensive game. Every morning before you look at a screen, before you drink your coffee, you sit for 10 minutes. You breathe. You visualize the energy pooling in your lower abdomen, a ball of golden fire. And on every inhale, you pull that fire up the spine. You wash your brain with it. You set the intention that this fuel is for creation, not consumption. You will feel the urge. The parasite will scream. It will try to trick you. It will say just one peek, just one click. This is the moment of Calcinatio. This is where you draw the sword. You say no. You burn the thought. And in that moment of refusal, you must realize that you are not just resisting a habit. You are lifting a weight. You are building the muscle of the soul. The energy you save in that moment of struggle is the exact energy you will use to build your empire, to write your book, to heal your body, or to find the love that actually fulfills you. You are trading a moment of pleasure for a lifetime of power. This journey of transmutation is the ultimate rebellion. It is the reclaiming of your sovereignty from the biology that seeks to use you up. It is the decision to become the master of the house, rather than the servant of the drive. The ancients believed that we are not human beings having a spiritual experience, but spiritual beings currently trapped in a biological generator. Most people let the generator run dry, but you have the manual. As you stand at the threshold of this new way of being, look at your hands, look at the reality around you. It is malleable. It is waiting for a command from a mind that has enough voltage to issue it. The energy you have been throwing away is the ink with which you can write a new destiny. The path is open. The vessel is yours. The fire is waiting. Are you ready to stop leaking and start rising? Seal the vessel. Watch the gates. Raise the light. The hunt for your true self has just begun. If you are ready to take the next step and decode the other mysteries of the human potential, subscribe to the channel. We are building an archive of the forbidden knowledge, and we need hunters like you. Join us.